Well, let's stay on that point because we're joined now by Debbie Stothard, who's the founder of ALTSEAN, an NGO which works to support human rights and democracy in Myanmar. Debbie, thank you very much for joining us. Perhaps for you at the moment, you want to hear the likes of Joe Biden condemning the situation in Myanmar, but is there any reason to expect a rollback on the military position now? I wouldn't have thought so.
The military has very big economic interests. In fact, a lot of what they're doing is motivated by a desire to maintain economic control over the country, especially now that the economy is facing a crisis because of the COVID pandemic. So I think we have to understand that we must make sure that the military and leaders and their cronies do not profit from this coup. Targeted economic sanctions are the way to go, targeting the military and their companies.
Yeah, it must be disheartening is far too light a word for you. You spent years trying to build the democracy in Myanmar, and in one stroke it sort of disappears again, is perhaps how it's felt by many. Do you get a sense, are you getting enough international response for your own liking to see these sorts of sanctions being raised?
We've always said the empire strikes back, and we always worked with grassroots activists to get ready for any type of wind back on the liberties and the opening space in the country. Now we have activists are on the ground. Some of them are in hiding, and others are actually desperately sending out information and updating media and the international community on the situation on the ground. So the question is that the international community hasn't really backed up the activists. They've put too much of their effort into appeasing and appeasing the government and engaging the government without paying attention to what's happening on the ground. Now, the IMF is lending Burma $3.2 billion for COVID economic recovery. This money is going to be under the control of a military regime, which has just suspended humanitarian flights in the country.
So are you saying they should withdraw that money?
No. What we're saying is that there has to be comprehensive and very strict controls on that money to ensure that it's actually used to help civilians on the ground. Right. The military has spent tens of millions of dollars in the past 2 months buying new military hardware. So we really must not allow them to have their hands on that money.
Yeah, you want to know where that money is going to be spent. You said earlier you've been ready for the potential of democracy being taken away again. It feels as if the international community and many people within Myanmar itself were simply not ready. They were unprepared. Are you saying you were expecting this?
For a very long time, since the Constitution was brought in, human rights activists on the ground have consistently warned that this could happen. It was a question of when. And I think many people didn't expect it to happen right now, but there was always this possibility.
OK, Debbie Stothard, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on BBC World News.